This is cohort number 11. We have started the incubator in 2018. And it was the first program to focus uniquely on animal-free sustainable food tech at the time. And since then, we have worked with over 100 startups. And a lot has happened since then as well in the space. We have seen impressive growth, traction, and currently we are in a phase of consolidation. So it is really important still that there is, of course, innovation in the space. This hasn't changed at all. But fundraising has become a massive challenge for startups. In Germany, for example, the venture capital funding has gone down by 50%, around 50% this year. And this is probably representative for most markets. The number of rounds has gone down, the sizes are smaller, and the rounds take much longer. And it's very hard for startups to find lead investors. At the same time, we see still great momentum. That is, in countries like Germany, Denmark, and the UK, for example, the public support for the transition of our food system is on the up. As I said, what hasn't changed at all is this pressing need for innovation, and impact-driven entrepreneurs are a key driver in this. You're going to see 8 teams pitch today, and I'm very glad and happy to see this talent on stage today of people that are really brave and resilient, especially these days. So before we kick this off, please note, this is a hybrid event. It's streamed and recorded, and it's interactive. So you can use the chat, reach out, say hello, connect to this global audience of corporations, of investors, of founders, and experts in the field. And if you would like to touch base with the startups pitching today, watch out for our link and QR code for this. Without further ado, then, I would like to hand over to the co-heads of the ProVeg Incubator, to Divya Murthy and Antje Reuscher. So enjoy our demo day. Thanks to everyone who helped prep this and pull this off, including our amazing jury here. And over to Antje and Divya. Give it up for them.
Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to our demo day for Winter 2023 cohort. Today is the culmination of months of hard work for a very driven group of entrepreneurs committed to building the future of food. I'm very excited to present our amazing cohort 11. And today, but before we get to the startups, I'm going to share a little bit about ProVeg Incubator. We are the world's leading incubator program for food tech and all protein startups globally. Our mission is to foster the next generation of innovative and high-impact startups, developing alternative solutions to animal-based products and ingredients. All right. And since we launched in 2018, our alumni network has grown to over 100 startups. Our founder network includes some of the leading product, ingredient, and enabling tech companies across the globe. Our alumni have also gone on to raise more than $300 million post-incubation, driving this transition. And we are very proud to also build a very global community of founders. We have startups from over 35 countries, all the way from Japan to Chile. We're very proud to have built a truly global community, which is tackling the diverse challenges and opportunities in their specific regions. And speaking of, I'd like to take a moment for a special shout out to some of our alumni startups. They have achieved some big milestones this year, and we've worked with them from the very early stages, so it's incredibly special to see them making big waves in the industry. First up, we have Contech, who have raised 12 million euros this year in their Series A round. This was from Telos Impact, Peakbridge, and EIC. To further scale up their production. This startup is working on scaling up, upcycling their fruit pits to make high-quality ingredients and products. Then we have Better Nature, who have also closed their 1 million round. They're developing tempeh and fueling their explosive growth in UK and the EU with this round from seeders and a mix of institutional investors. And then we have Umami United, who are Umami United, who have raised 1.5 million, led by top Japanese VCs. And they're going to be using this to expand their markets for their B2B egg ingredients in the US and Japan. And then finally, Be Better, My Friend, which was part of our last cohort, have already gone on to get their first customer contract for 1 million euros from Compass Group France. So really excited. All right.
Thank you. And the good news continue. It's not over yet. I want to share some more highlights from the alumni pool. I'm going to start it off with microalgae biotech startup Crazy Foods, who are based here in Berlin with us. They have just raised an 800,000 euro round to further harness the power of microalgae, and we're super proud to be part of their journey. Then next up, we have Swedish plant-based fish producer Hooked, who have now expanded beyond the Nordics and are now tackling the German market by launching into more than 500 railways nationwide. So if you are based here in Berlin or in Germany, you can look forward to finding their products on the shelf. Next up, some good news for the dog owners in the audience here or online. Omni, developers of animal-free pet food, have grown their brand tremendously, first in the UK, and are now tackling the continental European market. They're going to be in the biggest continental retailer for pet foods called Fressnapf. So yeah, very good news for the dog owners. And finally, I want to say a big shout out to our friends from WeMilk, who have made really big achievements on the regulatory side. Not only have they gotten approval or critical approval steps from US FDA and SFA in Singapore, they're also now the first protein dairy startup in Israel that is approved for sales. So a big shout out to WeMilk. And coming now from the startup highlights to the great team here at the ProVeg Incubator, I want to give them a moment of appreciation, because all the work that we do to support our companies, to promote them, to host events like this today and so much more, it wouldn't be possible without the dedicated and talented team that make this place such a fun area to work at. So a big shout out to Vicky and Gabriel, who cannot be here with us today, but I hope you guys are watching online. Thank you to Hedy, to Prakrit, to Yas, to Alex. You guys are truly amazing. Yeah, give it up for them. And a short, thanks, this is for you guys. And then a moment for a little bit of self-promotion. If you are a startup and you want to join this community of mission-driven founders who truly make an impact in this protein transition, our applications are open. You can apply on our website at provegincubator.com. The next cohort is starting in the spring of next year, and we are really looking forward to applications until end of January. And then let's get to the main part of today, to the startups and to the program. How does this 12-week journey look like for us? The startups have gone through a very intense program covering 5 blocks. And we've covered more than 100 hours of activities with more than 50 industry experts joining from the corporate world, from VC, from entrepreneurship, from science. So a big thank you to all the mentors and the contributors who have supported our program and our startups. And yes, let's take a look at the 8 groundbreaking companies that you're going to see today. We have from Europe, Gimme Sabor, Exit, and Poseidona. From Latin America, representing Selva and Food for You. Over to North America, we have Marinas and Livestock Labs. And finally, from Asia, Adium Bio. And then I want to say a really big heartfelt thank you. There's lots of thank yous in my part. A really big heartfelt thank you to the startups that make up this cohort for pursuing this new food system, making it more sustainable, animal-free. It's all the hard work that you do in developing technology and solutions to actually make that a reality. I want to say it's been such an inspiring journey to work alongside these companies in the last 3 months. I remember when we first met as a group online in September and then fast forward to today, how much you guys have achieved. It's really so thrilling to be able to celebrate that today and share that with the bigger audience. So thank you guys. And then back to you.
Okay, so on to the agenda for today. So we have 8 startups who are going to be sharing a 5-minute pitch, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A from the jury. For the online audiences, feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure the startups get to answer them. And at the very end, we'll announce the jury winner and also the audience favorite. So make sure for the online audiences, stay tuned till the very end to cast your vote for your favorite pitch for the day. The winners will get free tickets to the New Food Conference, to the next New Food Conference that'll happen in Berlin. Okay, and this brings me to our very final thank you, hopefully, for the evening, I think. Yeah, thank you so much to our lovely investor panel who have joined us here today on this really cold, gray, dark day in Berlin. Yeah, so I'll hand it over to Nicholas to quickly introduce himself and Food Labs.
Should be working. You can just talk into it.
Does it work?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. I'm Nico. I'm part of the investment team at Food Labs. We're a Berlin-based venture capital fund focusing obviously on everything food tech at the earlier stage, pre-seed and seed with ticket sizes from 500K up to 2.5 million euros. We're investing globally. And yeah, thanks a lot to the whole team for having me and all of us here. It's always great to come back and see the amazing work you and the founders are doing. So happy to be here.
Thank you. All right, then Lena from Astronaut.
Yes, exactly. I'm Lena. I'm working at Astronaut Ventures. I'm part of the investment team. Astronaut Ventures is as well a food fund by heart. So we are a food and egg fund. We are also worth mentioning, we are an impact fund. So we are an Article 9 European impact fund. We are investing in Series A stages mainly, but we also have a seed pocket of our current fund. We are currently investing out of our second fund. Main office is in Brussels, but we also have an office here in Berlin. So if anyone wants to swing by at some point. And we invest in Europe and US mainly.
Thank you.
Peter from Green Generation Fund. We're an early stage fund in the food tech, green tech space, also based here in Berlin. Within food tech, we have covered a variety of applications in the plant-based food space, ranging from advanced plant protein to fermentation and even up to cell cultivation companies. Are also pretty early stage investors, starting with 500K checks and going up to 2.5, 3 million, depending on the company stage.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ridul Parikh, representing ECBF, which is the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund. We are a 300 million euro fund investing as a VC, investing in companies that help us go from a fossil-based economy to bio-based economy. We're a growth stage investor investing all across Europe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, and I'm Christian from Planet A. We're an impact fund based in Berlin, 160 million. First-time fund. We invest across impact, so heat, energy, everything, and food. Food tech is one of, it's my favorite vertical, I have to say. We have 2 investments in that space, and we're early stage, so pre-seed, seed, Series A.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, great to have all of you. And now, without any further ado, on to the first pitch of the day, which will be Allium Bio, all the way from Singapore, to present their combination of algae and mycelium. Please welcome John, CEO and co-founder, on the stage.
And hello, everybody. My name is John. I'm the CEO of Allium Bio, and we are creating a platform which combines microalgae and mycelium to create better ingredients for better products for people and the planet. And the secret power there is the combination of the microalgae and the mycelium. So, as everybody here in the audience knows, I'm not getting a clicker to move. Thank you. Yeah, as we're all aware, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in the food tech ecosystem. Everything from ingredients to products, innovation on the enabler side. And some of the most exciting technologies for us have been on these species, right? Microalgae and mycelium. And they're very popular for obvious reasons. They're super efficient. They create a ton of value in terms of food and ingredients, and they do it all without any harmful effects to the climate. Unfortunately, even the leaders in this space are running into some long-term challenges around the unit economics, the scalability, as well as persistent problems around off flavors and off notes. But so that obviously leads to the same challenges that we all know, we've all faced: taste, texture, price. We've all been working on them since day one. But at Allium Bio, what we've developed is a new technology which combines mycelium and microalgae in order to get those strengths all together, but also combat some of those challenges. We use specific strains of microalgae and mycelium to unlock specific key symbiotic interactions, which create more value in the co-culture, but also reduce the cost to create it. So we start with microalgae, that famous natural treasure, packed with protein, vitamins, high-value fats, and we combine it with mycelium, the flexible building block. Together, we're able to harness this incredible 1 + 1 = 10 effect, where the final biomass has more value in it than the sum of its parts. In our co-culture, the microalgae and the mycelium work together to create more protein, create a larger biomass, but also lower the production costs. As one key example of our technology in the platform, we see that we can create protein that is 5 to 6 times cheaper than the industry standard. And I know that that number is huge, that multiple is almost unbelievable. So we're gonna walk you through a little bit of our results and our experiments to show you. So on the left, we have our fungi monoculture. On the left is, below that is the microalgae. And what we're doing is prepping them in liquid media to help them work symbiotically together. Then when we get them into the co-culture, we're already able to see some signs of the behaviors that we're optimizing for. The two ones to point out here are a neutral color, which gives us flexibility as an ingredient, but also a larger biomass than would be created in these monocultures, so helping our unit economics in the long term. Then when we turn that protein in the biomass into a protein flour, we're again seeing some really exciting signs of what we're optimizing for in the long term. So 3 things here. 1, high level of protein, around 40% without a purification step. Second is solubility. Again, very high, better than soy, better than pea, more on par with whey and casein. And then finally, flexibility. We have a mild taste, which gives it flexibility across multiple food product categories. And again, we're looking at this as a platform play. This is just one use case for our technology, but we actually have so many different levers on the process. We can use different strains, different media combinations to create different final products with more fat, less protein, more pigment, less fiber. It's really up to our end customer. Speaking of customers, when we look at our model, where we are today is essentially serving drop-in replacements to folks on both sides of the aisle. Whether they're plant-based or non, we can create designer ingredients for them. But in the future, we want to be working almost inside of and very closely with large food companies who want to have a co-culture process, which creates a very specific, unique, functional ingredient for their purposes. And then once we've proven that out at a small scale and optimized it, we can then license or sell that IP to them for their own processes. Over the past 12 months since we've started, we've hit some impressive milestones, both on the business side, but also on tech development, working with a ton of different customers and conversations, but also testing a lot of technical co-cultures. Now, one that I just want to point out on the right is that we filed our first patent as of this month on the co-culture process, and we've got a second one coming on the downstream processing that we do. So we're quite excited about that. And also, we've hit some incredible interest across the ecosystem, from bioprocessing to plant and cell-based, but also research institutions around the world. And we've turned that into tangible traction with LOIs and co-development agreements, but also sample quantity commitments totaling hundreds of kilos. The mandatory team slide. So we are what we think of as the perfect blend of business and biotech. You might even call it a co-culture. I used to work in agri-food tech VC in Singapore, before that working at a bunch of different startups across Asia. And my co-founder has a PhD in biochemistry and spent the last 5 years working at the Singapore government's dedicated food tech lab on fungi and fermentation. We are not currently fundraising, but we will be launching a seed round in Q1 of next year. So if you're interested in that, we'd be more than happy to talk about it later. Again, we are Allium Bio, and we use the powers of microalgae and mycelium to create a platform for better ingredients for the world. Thank you.
All right, so questions from the jury. Peter, you want to go first?
So, I mean, what's very very exciting about like co-cultivating algae and mycelium is that there are like some favorite characteristic when it comes to cost efficiency. My question is, to which degree does the mycelium kind of collaborate or coexist with the algae, or to which degree can it feed on the algae, particularly when looking at glucose input factors, for example, which, well, are the main cost drivers in the space?
Yeah, regarding that, that is actually one of the core technology that we really optimize is the use of the nutrition in the media. We found that from our early result, we found that in co-culture, actually the usage of the glucose is more efficient in the co-culture, meaning that you can get more from the same amount of time with the same amount of volume of media, let's just say that. So basically, being a co-culture, we get like more effective growth of both. So we get more from the same volume of media, basically.
All right, then Nicholas.
When it comes to downstream processing, do you face similar challenges like, let's say, just mycelium startups, or does the co-cultivation make it more challenging, or are there different challenges?
So right now we are on the downstream processing. We're still very, very basic. So the challenge will be more similar into the fungi side, because the structure of the fungi will be more dominant, where the microalgae is like less dominant in the current stage of the co-culture. So, but in the further down the road, we'll optimize a specific downstream processing that could deal better with a co-culture instead of like compared to monoculture of fungi and monoculture of microalgae.
All right, great. Mridul, at this one here. The other mic. Okay.
So thanks for the nice presentation. You have put together two technologies that a lot of founders, industry experts, investors are wrapping their head around, right? Microalgae and mycelium. My question for you was, when you try to scale this up, what are the challenges that you will face, and how do you ensure that this technology becomes more scalable in the future?
Yeah, I think that it's a fantastic question. Nobody has solved microalgae or mycelium already, right? And so the idea that we're putting these together and somehow going to leap forward in front of everybody is maybe a little unrealistic. But what we do know is that because we're among the first in this space combining them together, we have this opportunity to put together the data, put together the model, and really build it on our own terms. That's actually something that we're kind of finding key to our IP strategy in the long term, is that we're building this model around how the algae and the mycelium work together best. And so we can optimize that, build that into the model, and eventually actually take some of the wet work out, move to like an in silico model where we're able to model out potential iterations of the co-culture in the long term.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next we'll have Gimme Sabor, who have developed a range of plant-based natural flavorings that taste like different kinds of meat, fish, seafood, and cheese. Please welcome Victor on stage.
Hello, everyone. Let me ask you a question. How many of you eat at least one time every day? Raise your hand. All of you eat. That's right. So let me tell you something. All of you have a superpower, because all of you have at least one chance every day to make a huge positive impact in the world, because what you eat matters. As you well know, our generation is facing so many challenges, right? Two of the bigger are the climate change and also the world hunger. And in order to combat them, we need to reduce our consumption of animal product. But this is not easy, right? As consumers, we are used and we like animal product. That's why we are seeing so many companies doing an amazing job trying to replicate the experience of animal product with plant-based product. We see a lot of progress in the replication of the texture, in the replication of the look, but not that many progress in the flavor. We are talking about food. One of the most important things is flavor. A lot of the companies are using synthetic additives that don't taste that good and even can be bad for our health. So in Gimme Sabor, we are creating clean label, natural flavors that are MSG, GMO, and also allergen-free, that give you amazing flavor of meat, fish, seafood, and even cheese. Our product is so convenient and can be used in industry, in food service, and also at home for the end customer. You can apply like a seasoning over your favorite plant-based protein, like really affordable and healthy plant-based protein that you can find everywhere, like tofu, tempeh, and TVP, and it's gonna taste like chicken, like bacon, or even like lobster. And why us? Well, we are from Murcia. That is one of the main regions in the spicy sector in Europe. In our team, there is people with more than 3 generations of experience creating natural flavor. And thanks to our partner and manufacturer, we have also access to a really well global supply network, global network, yeah. Our business model is to sell our product in B2C. We work with retailers. Also, we work with e-commerce. We are getting to more than 200 point of sales, but we also work in B2B. We work, for example, with industry. Some of our clients are creating healthy snacks, plant-based protein, or ready-to-eat dishes for supermarket. But we also work in the food service with restaurants, hospitals, and schools. During this year, we get more than 100,000 euros in revenue with an average gross margin over 60% per product. And we are ready to continue growing. Thanks to our partner, we have the capacity to escalate the production without to invest in CapEx. And we are also getting other countries. We are from Spain, but we are also getting in Sweden, Norway, and France. As competitor in B2C, there is no other companies offering the range of products that we are offering. And in B2B, one of the things that the client like more from us is that we are offering a really clean label ingredient, and also that our product is much convenient than other solutions. So can be applied in other sectors like food service, as I said before, but also can be applied for small and medium production. So we are helping a lot to companies that are creating new plant-based products. All of this is thanks to the best team, a multidisciplinary team with a lot of experience creating food products and food brands. As co-founder, one of my co-founders is Cholo, is here today. He's the one in charge of the develop new product. For us, it's really important to have a chef doing this because at the end we are talking about food. Food has to be tasty, has to be appealing. My other co-founder has a lot of experience in marketing and branding. He's in charge of marketing. And myself, as CEO, my background is in corporate law, and I am a serial entrepreneur. This is my third startup. And we have also some leaders from the sector as investor and advisor, like Jose Maria Cervera, a former general director of Metro Group in Spain and Portugal, or Anabel Diaz, the general director of Uber in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We also have a team of scientifics supporting us. And for the next year, our focus is to continue growing in the B2B category, as I said before, with manufacturer, with food service. But also, we are using our superpower. Just talk something in this presentation. Yeah, can you, next slide, please? Thank you. So we are using our superpower, other flavor, to continue pursuing our mission, that is to bring affordable, healthy, but above all, really tasty plant-based alternative. That's why today you can try some of our new products like our plant-based canned tuna or sauces. And we want to continue growing, to continue making a big impact, and that's why we are looking for the best partner at our side, and we are opening a new investment round for 400,000 euros. It looks nice, right? Let me tell you, it tastes even better. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Questions from the judge? We can start with Mridul.
Great presentation. Really like the fact that you are targeting flavor as a problem. So you said you have a lot of different flavors, seasonings in your library of products. My question was, how do you get to them? Is there a technology that is very specific that you have to reach to these different formulations, let's say?
Yeah. Well, it's like a three-stage process. The first thing is like, first we think in what is the flavor that most like in the market, that we really want to have in our product, in our plant-based product, and then we study that flavor. What is that? What the component? What is that makes something that tastes like chicken, or what makes something that tastes like lobster? And then we know what is the component. We already have a big database and a lot of know-how about what plant-based have this kind of component, and then we have to formulate. And it's complicated because the plant-based product that we are using have this component, but in other different proportions. So you have to combine them, then you have to try again, and then you have to do like a lot of trial and error. And then we have the flavor. The good thing is when we have already some range of flavor, for example, seafood flavor, it's easy to make like lobster, some variation, because we already know how to recreate this kind of flavor, and then we do that. But at the end, everything is about know-how and the good suppliers and know exactly what kind of ingredient you have to use, and then just experiment.
Okay, Peter?
So in plant-based foods, particularly, I'd say that the products are way more convenientized than they are like in traditional meats, fish, or comparable, meaning that they're already pre-flavored or having like or pre-textured. So how does your additional flavor apply to these facts that you might get already like a I don't know, Chinese cuisine style plant-based fish ready-made in the supermarket on the shelf.
Yeah, well, one of the things of the products, as I said before, is they are clean label ingredient. We don't have any kind of additives. And the other thing is this product are targeting people who is already eating animal products. So it's not like Asian sauce or this kind of thing. We are targeting people. If you are eating chicken, we are going to show you how you can eat plant-based product with the flavor that you like. So one of the things is that the specific target that we are creating with this flavor, but also the clean label. For us, this is really important. Also because they are allergen-free. For example, people who until now cannot experience the seafood flavor now can have that. So we are opening even more range with plant-based product.
Awesome, thanks. One last question, maybe Christian or Lena, since you're closer to the mic.
Yeah, maybe on the two go-to-market strategies. So of course the B2C angle, and so you mentioned some examples. So I think we have a good picture of that on the B2B side. I mean, if you go to food service, is there anything you do for your customer education-wise, or how to use them? Do you do you do trials with them? Do you give them recipes, or how do you plan to do that?
This is a really interesting question. We start as B2C company, then we, because a lot of clients were asking for this product in food service, in other category we pivot to B2B. But then when we were working B2C, we make a lot of recipes and a lot of suggestions how to use the product. So that experience we apply also in the food service category. And a good thing is we have a chef in the team. So there is a lot of different applications that we can show with each of the product, and we send to them. And even for different kind of restaurant or different kind of food that they are serving there. And then also as investor, we have one person who was in charge of Metro Group in Spain and Portugal. So it was the main case and current food service. So they have a lot of experience. So we try to adapt to a category of client. Yeah, with all of this.
Okay, thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we will be joined by Livestock Labs. We have co-founder and COO Andrew, all the way from San Francisco, to join us today. They are creating off-the-shelf cell lines optimized for cultivated meat. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Andrew, co-founder and COO for Livestock Labs. We're manufacturing genetically engineered cell lines to turbocharge the cultivated meat industry. Cultivated meat is experiencing growing pains, and that's because companies are trying to do everything and working in silos. They're creating their own cell lines, building their own bioreactors, making their own media, and developing the final meat products. This has led to high costs and low quantities. Companies have raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and yet output remains woefully inadequate. This was reasonable at first as the industry was young, but companies are continuing to be spread thin, and critical verticals are continuing to suffer. One such vertical is the creation of viable cell lines, the starting material that all companies require. Creating viable cell lines requires a hefty upfront cost, and as companies scale and make process changes, requires millions more in ongoing R&D. This significant financial burden is a major barrier to industry innovation and market entry. And spending millions on cell lines does not guarantee quality. Without the technical expertise, the attention to detail, and the time investment, a cell line might start out performing well, but if not engineered appropriately, future passages are guaranteed to underperform and disappoint. Livestock Labs will solve these issues by solely focusing on creating cell lines with the best technology available. At a high level, we use advanced genetic engineering, data analytics, and machine learning technology to create patently superior cell lines. Like Mario becoming invincible with a star, our cell lines will be supercharged with genetic modifications. We are growing cells or developing cells to grow predictably, stably, and economically while delivering all the flavor and the nutritional characteristics that consumers demand in their favorite meat products. And by offering off-the-shelf capable cell lines, we are able to reduce a company's cell line development costs by up to 95% and save them up to 24 months on their R&D time. No longer will a company require an entire cell line development team to contribute to the cultivated meat industry. And by just focusing on cell lines, we're extremely capital efficient. All we need is a small lab, a small team, and a relatively small financial investment before we could start bringing in significant revenues. And we know this because Livestock Labs was founded by industry veterans. Co-founder and CEO Steen Uwe has over 20 years experience in tissue culture, genetic engineering, and utilizing machine learning to manipulate cell lines. He most recently led New Age Eats' cell engineering division, where he fully characterized their cultivated pork cell lines. I come from Mission Barns, a cultivated fat company, where as one of their early business hires have wore many hats on the non-technical side. Operationally, I helped lead the move from a bench scale to a pilot scale facility. And on the business development side, I've liaised with NGOs, government agencies, and corporations worldwide to champion the advancement of cultivated meat. Our business model is simple. We will develop superior cell lines, starting with the major livestock species. We will patent those cell lines and the technology used to develop them. We will then license these cells to all companies who need them, which is a vast majority of the cultivated meat industry, but also includes some pharma and other agricultural and synthetic biotech companies. And royalties may be small now, but the possibilities are massive. Not only will we be able to service all cultivated meat companies within the next few years and enable more and more companies to contribute to this space, but our cell lines have the ability to be the starting material that eventually can be the millions upon millions of tons of product that'll be sold in meat markets around the world. And there are currently 0 companies doing this. We would be the first company to offer off-the-shelf capable cell lines. And GFI, arguably one of the larger nonprofits promoting all proteins, is touting this white space for all the reasons I've mentioned. Starting in January 2024, our pre-seed timeline will allow us to create and demo our first cell line, truly proving our tech strategy. 9 months later, our seed round will allow us to create 24 cell lines covering 4 different species, all fully optimized, fully characterized, patented, and GRAS certified. We have already begun working on our cell line in a shared lab space in Berkeley, California, and are currently working with several organizations as we navigate through this early stage. We're currently raising $500,000 for our pre-seed round to develop that seed. Now, I know I've made a lot of claims today, so I encourage you to reach out, dig into our numbers, dig into our projections, most importantly, dig into our tech strategy. You won't be disappointed. Thank you. And I'd like to invite my CEO, Steen Uwe, up, just in case there's any tough technical questions.
All right, we can start with Nicholas.
You mentioned that you're already right from the beginning are focusing on different cell lines for different species. Can you elaborate a bit further on that? Isn't it, or wouldn't it make more sense to focus on one in the beginning, or do you say you have enough capacity to go all the way from the start?
Well, for the MVP, yes, we will be focusing just on one, which would probably be a porcine cell line. But eventually, if you think about cultivated meat, the main cell types that form the meat that's eaten are fat, muscle, and connective tissue. So those are the 3 cell types that we are targeting. And in terms of the technology, once it's applied to one species, it's equally applicable to the other livestock species we'd be interested in. So we think that we'd be able to create a catalog pretty quickly.
Awesome. Christian? Yeah. That should work. Try.
Oh, there it is coming.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And when you say improving the cell lines, what do you mean? Like doubling charting, doubling time? Yeah.
Yeah, so all companies need their cell lines to perform stably, to maintain cell identity, to grow in a predictable manner so that they're not going too fast, becoming potentially tumorigenic, and have certain qualities and capabilities, like if you're interested in suspension cell growth, or if you want them to have nutritional content or sensory value. So what we're talking about is creating these cell lines which are valued, and have all the capabilities that will be needed for various cultivated meat companies. And that's not only those that are seeking to create a final food product where it's an ingredient, but also those in tech development where they need validation of their technology. So they'll need good cells for those purposes.
And how are you going to compete? So there are players right now in the space who are going like the natural route, like in Europe, no names, but how are you going to compete with them? Because you guys are coming with a heavily GMO situation going on.
Yeah, that's very true. So GMO, we are embracing that. And as you well know, we're based in the United States. In that jurisdiction, there's a much more friendlier climate when it comes to GM. But in terms of competing against other strategies or companies, we think that if you leave a cell up to its own devices, it will have a propensity to go wrong. And particularly if you want cells just to continue to grow and grow and grow, there's always going to be the specter of forming cancer-like cells. But if you genetically engineer them, you have that unique, exquisite control. And that's what we like about this approach. And we think that it will ultimately result in the success of the industry.
Thank you. One last question.
I have some doubts actually regarding the value proposition of your service towards startups in that space. Usually the cell line itself, it's the core USP or the core IP of many companies, with like bioreactors and growth media, even scaffolds becoming more and more commoditized. So at which stage or who would actually kind of not focus on developing this themselves, but rather like early on or during the growth phase, bet on your solution?
That's a good question. And right now, it's a lot of companies to, one, just get off the ground, but even companies that are using cell lines as part of their IP stack, they're still probably interested, especially getting a genetically modified cell that is dependable, you know exactly what you're getting every time, especially if you're using non-GM cells, just to compare different processes. And they'll use theirs until something better comes on the market. And then the curtain is going to get lifted on cultivated meat, and you are going to need to produce mass quantities, and they're going to go with the best ones. So they'll try other ones to test different media, test different formulations, and we're optimistic with our approach that ours is going to be the one that goes the distance and gives people the weight that they require.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks a lot. You can pass it on to Sonia. Okay, next up we have Sonia from Spain. She's the co-founder and CEO of Posidona. They're developing seaweed protein ingredients, which they believe is the new soy. Please give it up.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. We are Posidona, and we nourish the people at the same time we heal the ocean. Posidona is founded by two female scientists, Dr. Maria Cermeño as the CSO, and myself, Sonia Hurtado, as the CEO. I've been almost 20 years in the food industry. The half of this time, I focused in developing plant-based alternatives. I am the former co-founder and CSO at Current Foods, a San Francisco plant-based seafood company that was backed by the Y Combinator. And in the last round, we raised 20 million. On the other hand, Maria is been the last 7 years conducting postdoctoral research on protein extraction from circular materials, including seaweeds. So together, we decided to join forces to bring a solution to a huge problem we all know, and it's that we are too many people in this world. We are going to be more. These people need protein, but we cannot feed them all with meat and fish. So we turned to soy, but soy protein is already related to deforestation and loss of biodiversity due to monocultivation. Then why are we still using it so massively for plant-based alternatives? Well, because overall it has a great quality, it has a good amount of protein, and most of all, because it's cheap. There are other alternatives to animal protein, but they are far from soy in terms of cost or not scaled yet. But what if I tell you that we could provide a similar protein with a similar cost that the one that soy has? Well, we can. Then how are we doing it? We use macroalgae, but we don't cultivate it. We use the side streams from the industry, for example, from agar production or alginate production, and we also can use invasive seaweeds. So this way we remove them from the sea where they are causing damage. So from this seaweed byproduct, we are developing a methodology that's protected under patents that will allow us to obtain a protein concentrate with similar functionalities than the soy has, and then a protein hydrolyzed that will allow us to fortify in protein for the final products. And we are also working in a texturized protein that will come a little bit later in 2025. And as you might have guessed for the last one, our first customers are the alternative protein product producers. So it could be Beyond Meat, Garden, Impossible, etc. From this segment, we already have more than 300,000 euros in signed LOIs. But we are also talking with other segments of the industry, for instance, with sports people drinks or even pet food companies. So this way, we are going to jump to an ocean of business opportunities because according to Markets and Markets, in 2027, the global plant-based protein market is going to hit 17.4 billion. And our road to market will escalate from selling to SMEs and startups in the end of 2024, while we have 2 years for improving and optimizing our product. At that time, we are going to be launching our texturized protein, and we are going to be hitting at bigger ingredients companies. And this is one proof of concept that we've developed. It's a grilled tuna steak that will allow us to showcase the potential of our proteins. You will see it later. And also it will be like a secondary revenue entrance for the company. We are right now closing our first round of 1 million that will allow us to conclude the development of our 2 first products and protect the IP. And also will allow to build a team. Speaking of which, we already onboarded our first employee. You have him there. And he will be fully focused on the sensory improvement of our products. But we also count with an amazing advisory board. You also have one of them there. That's helping us both in the R&D front, but also in the business one. And just to conclude, we believe that the key to feed the people is in the ocean. Just that we have to explore and exploit it in a responsible and sustainable way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Perfect presentation. And let's open up for questions. There's many hands being raised. So how about you start, Chris? Or Lena?
Is it working? Oh, yeah. Hi, Sonia. We met before.
Yeah,
nice
we
to
know
see
each
you
other.
again. Yes. So I'm super curious to touch right off the bat on the unit economics, like how, and when you are at scale, how would that compare to established protein sources?
Yeah, so we currently have a partner. So we have a supplier already, and that can be a partner also for the manufacturer. But we want to have more than one partner, and we are also looking to have like strategically different facilities for manufacture. So we don't want to ship product up and down, but have strategically possibly 3 of them. And then, yeah, but about the product economics, the good thing that we have is the raw material is for free. So we are in the contract that we have with them. We are setting, of course, a cost for that, but it would be for free, and that's one of the keys. The biggest cost that we have is the enzymes that we use for the hydrolysis that we are not going to reveal, of course. But in terms of process, we are really optimizing it, and still just the product that we will launch in the end of next year, it's this cost. But imagine, so it will be less and less. So that's the way that we are doing it.
Maybe we go with Lena first, and then you, Nido.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation.
Hi, Lena.
It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm also curious about the price. I mean, this price, of course, looks amazing. So you mentioned your protein concentrate and also the high hydrolyzed. So how or what is the concentration of protein in both? And maybe also, it's a two-sided question, also maybe elaborate a bit how you get there. So you mentioned the enzymes without getting too specific, but maybe a bit...
The process. So the concentrate is the mother of them. Maybe you can, Maria can explain you.
Yeah, thank you. So regarding the protein content, obviously we are early stage yet, but the objective is to obtain a protein concentrate of at least 70% protein, with a hydrolysate with higher protein content, possibly like 80 and 80% protein. In terms of the process, it's a green technology process. So basically we avoid any type of solvents or harsh chemicals. And again, we used more enzymatic hydrolysis, especially for the hydrolysate, and a very clean process in order to avoid, residues from the agri-food sector as well. And I think that's. I don't know if there was another question.
Yeah, thanks, that helped.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
So thanks for the nice presentation. I have a lot of questions, but I'll stick to 2 short ones. So very similar to the other 2 questions, how does the cost and use compare with soy protein? And second, you're using byproducts from the seaweed processing industry, if I understand correctly. Would you have enough raw material supply in the future when you scale up?
Yeah, so great question. About the economics, I think that more or less we respond that. But yeah, to the second one that I think it's really a good one. Just with the supplier that we have, we can have more than 25 tons per week, which means that we are already pretty well covered for the first 2 years, I'm assuming, for the numbers that we've done. But as said, we are already working on more partnerships. So we don't want to have only depend on them, but have more of them. And we are in conversations with those other ones. And even these 25 tons per week could be more with the only supplier that we have. So I think that we are well covered.
Does it make a huge difference, like which supplier you source it from? I guess it's going to affect the taste if you use different type of.
This is also a great question. Great question. So it's something that we foresee that it's going to happen. Of course, also we want to try different species for the seaweeds. We are now working with 2 of them, but our purpose is to be able to use different sources. And so that's something that will come later. We are working on it, but of course we are well aware of that. So it's something that we have in our R&D team as a thing to do, or a thing to be aware of.
Cool. Great. Thank you so much, Sonia and Maria. And from the sea to the land, I'd like to introduce the next company, Exceed. And please welcome to the stage co-founder and CEO, Bojan.
Hi, everyone. There is one smart and optimal thing to do if we want to address both climate efforts and growing population demands. And that is the introduction of more alternative sources of protein. Like sunflowers turning to the sun, at Exceed we turn to sunflowers. Currently, the byproduct of sunflower oil production is hugely underutilized, being mostly sold as animal feed. In the EU alone, for 2022, more than 6 million tons of press cake were produced. This pressured side stream is abundant in amazing protein. Sunflower protein is the champion of the plant-based world. With an essential amino acid profile that comes closest to the structure of the human muscle, it's also functional and non-allergenic. The difficulty lies in extracting it in an isolate form from the press cake, and that has been a challenge to scientists for many years. At Exceed, we address those challenges, proposing a unique 3-layer technology addressing the extraction of sunflower protein isolate. The first 2 layers are the ones actually delivering the isolate protein. They upgrade the classical mild acidic approach, adding proprietary filtration and a number of other innovations. Thus, we managed to solve familiar issues such as functionality, yield, polyphenols, and organoleptics. The 3rd layer is an optimization one. It takes the residue generated by our technology and applies enzymatic as well as microbial techniques to generate protein-enriched animal feed, making our entire solution waste-free. And as a whole, our technology is clean, efficient, and GMO-free. It's patentable, and we have an IP strategy in place. The main product, sunflower protein isolate, is pure and clean, functional, non-allergenic, comes at a very competitive price. It's suitable for wide applications across plant-based foods. The market for plant-based proteins is set to grow 6-fold in the next 10 years to an estimated $430 billion. But this can only happen, it's our claim, if more alternative sources of proteins are introduced. And sunflower has all the potential to reap many rewards in this dynamic environment, being wholesome and affordable at scale. It's our technology at Exceed which enables the commercialization of its isolate form. This is not working well. We start making money by installing a pilot line by 2025 with a monthly capacity of up to 15 tons and part of whose designs are already in place. When running at full speed, the pilot would be able to be strongly profitable as well as achieve 50% net margin. Then by 2030, we want to be working at industrial level. We're a business-to-business supplier focusing on manufacturers of plant-based seafood and meat, but also snacks and supplements. And in the pipeline of our early adopters, we're already testing with companies from 3 continents. So hopefully very soon you'll be able to glimpse our product as an ingredient in plant-based retail products such as tuna, mincemeat, and protein bars. Now, there are many producers of sunflower concentrate around the world, but in the sphere of technologies for sunflower isolate, we have just one direct competitor, US-based. This makes Exceed the leading European company in that area, and we intend to strengthen this position. With a market price of around 6,000 euros per ton, and given its quality and characteristics, Exceed's isolate has fantastic positioning potential. it could assume the currently empty niche for wholesome and yet affordable alternatives to widely used soy and pea, while also delivering great value for money compared to more expensive options. Our team is a star-studded one. As a co-founder, I come with a business background, having previously started and run another clean tech startup. My co-founder in the audience is the scientist of the company with extensive laboratory and alternative protein experience. And also employed is an engineer whose last project was the design of a large pea protein factory in Bulgaria. Our international advisors include Mr. Matt Tom, former commercialization strategist at Impossible, as well as Mr. Lauren Cardinali, the chairman of the board of Umiami. We started last year and already have a lab team and advancing product prototypes. Having started raising money only recently, we've just completed our second accelerator program and delivered a TRL of 6. Before continuing with our large-scale commercialization, we need to do a first scale-up or small pilot next year, which is also the purpose of our ongoing fundraising round. We have managed to secure 1/3 of our pre-seed goal with 350,000 euros to go. This would hugely help us to go from the few hundred grams we currently produce per month to a few hundred kilos. Thus, we would bulletproof our innovation, strengthen our customer pipeline, and introduce more product to potential clients. All in all, this would put us in a better shape for future commercialization and industrialization. I'm Boyan Zakhariev, founder and CEO of Exceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Boyan. Great presentation. And as always, let's open it up for questions. Peter, do you want to start?
Did you do a life cycle assessment on your production? How do you compare against, for example, pea protein or other isolates?
No, not yet. That's the honest question.
Can I go? Okay. Thanks for the presentation. Since you are concentrating one part of the composition, protein, would this be considered a novel food in Europe?
No, we can sell it as a food supplement. It's not novel food. It could be sold like other isolates are sold as a food supplement. Then for the microbial solution, we might need to go to a lengthier regulatory process. But for the isolate, it's no regulatory burdens there.
Thanks.
Okay, Lena, do you have a question for Boyan?
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I have a question on the sunflower and the press cake. So especially if you want to compete with pea and soy, because we speak about large volumes,
Exactly.
how do you see the supply chain of the press cake and especially of the sunflowers long term? I mean, we saw some disruption, unfortunately, in the last years of this industry, especially.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to get your view on that.
Well, that's one of our advantages currently geographically, because being based in Bulgaria, we have a huge supply of sunflower, and generally Eastern Europe, when you look at it, is the main producer of sunflower when you consider Ukraine and Poland, Romania and Bulgaria. So in that respect, we've been speaking to a number of producers of sunflower oil, and with each and every one of them, we've had no issues with negotiating future supply streams of input. So maybe there could be disruptions with wars, but I think that affects every single industry. So overall, Europe is a great place to do it because there's a lot of sunflower, a lot of byproduct, usually, as we say, being underutilized, and we want to tap into that potential.
Do you have another question from the jury? Nico?
Are you building out your own production facility?
Yeah. So right now we are doing a very small scale-up of our lab, which we have already created. We hope to do the scale-up next year. Then 2025, we want to do the pilot line, which would be even bigger, so 15 tons per month, approximately. And then for the industrial scale, basically sky's the limit, more than 100 to 200 tons per month. Yeah, that's our strategy.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Boyan. Give it up for Exceed. All right, and next up we have Marina's Bio, who cultivates genuine seafood delicacies for improved human and planetary health. Please welcome to the stage CEO and founder Eleanor. Big applause.
The year was 1989. This is my grandmother, and this is me. I was arguably better looking back then. We used to go to the fish market every day to see live fishes together. To her, seafood is not just food. It is a love language that bonds us together. Little did I know that seafood would become a huge part of my life. After college, I spent a decade from farm to fork in seafoods. Each morning, I sent 1 million fish to die under the knife. As the blood dripped over my boots, I was never able to reconcile my love of seafood and my love of animals. And that's how I started this company. We used to go on trips and we buy caviar as gifts. Everybody loved it. And the margins were great for traders. Perhaps this is why sturgeon becomes the most endangered group of species today. The original caviar is banned. If you get your hands on the illegal stuff, you worry about contaminations. In aquaculture, it takes a decade to farm, and you always have quality and shelf life issues. So our work focusing on cultivating seafood delicacies like caviar outside of the animal. We can reduce wild stock, we can reduce pressure on wild stock. We can produce them in a clean environment that takes months instead of years. You can also improve consistency and shelf life just by the nature of the way that we produce them. Here's how we do it. Our IP focus on obtaining, characterizing, and optimizing the egg cells from the fish, and then turning them into caviar and roe, our final products. They're delicious and superfood with the right amino acids, fats, minerals, and vitamins for our consumers who want to live a luxurious and healthy lifestyle. Unit economics has always been a major challenge for cultivated meat. Caviar is worth at least 250 times of beef, which helps a lot. And in terms of portion size, we are serving hundreds of cells of single individual cells as opposed to billions of cells with complex structure. We can find product market fit and profitability at a smaller scale with lower capex, lower opex, and higher returns. The roe market is around $2 to $3 billion, which is the same size as the Atlantic salmon market in the 90s. We witnessed the innovation in salmon for it to become the #1 premium fish in the world. I believe that caviar can do the same. The data agrees with me. Caviar is already growing at 8%, which is twice as fast as the overall aquaculture market. Since joining ProVeg, we have made huge progress. In September, we joined a customer discovery program to understand the motivation of customers of buying caviar and why do they actually buy and what they're looking for. In October, we started the lab operation in California and have a wide range of press coverages. In November, we collected the sturgeon fish. And by December, we established 40 primary cell lines, 40 primary cell cultures and initiated cell banking. And you can see the cells are growing and expanding nicely in the charts. We also received around 70K of funding from various parties. We plan to raise around 0.25 million in Q1 2024 from investors that we have already identified. And our work will be focusing on cell culture, optimization, banking, and food formulation and tasting. I worked very hard to recruit our scientific teams. And we're lucky that we find scientists with existing fish cell culture experience so that investors are not paying for education. I come from seafood and alternative seafood. I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars in this space. And we also have experts with cultivated meat experience who can help us in this journey. I wish you were in California today and you can see our lab and you can see how much we have achieved with how little that we have. we build out customized incubators that to culture cell in non-traditional environments, which are essential for us. And we also have a wide range of cell culture room and share equipment, which reduce our burn and extend our runway. Well, I really much hope that you can join us on our journey, and please feel free to reach out and ask us about scientific plans and financial forecasts. My name is Alan Leung at Marinus Bio. Thank you.
Stay at the stage. Okay, thank you, Alan. Very interesting. And let's see from the jury who has a question. Perhaps Lena.
Thanks a lot for the presentation. One question that immediately came to my mind is obviously about the market size. The market size, you mentioned it, it's not too big these days. There's a lot of potential to grow. It already grows. But relying on a market to grow, but which is not there yet, is of course also risky. Is there kind of a second plan or another product, a portfolio we would
I can't go back to the other slide. I don't know what happened. But there are a couple of products. So besides caviar, you have something called ikura, which is like salmon roll. And you have other types of fish roll. You have things like sea urchins, and you can have other kind of seafood delicacies. The gist is that you use like kind of mushy and simple structured seafoods that are very expensive and have a very unique mouthfeel and flavor. And you will focus on those. I've been working in seafood for 10 years. The data is not clear because like seafood is normally reported by species, not by part of animals. So sometimes we are identifying like seafood market that are interesting to us inside the tray, not necessarily relying on publicly available data that we can show today.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Peter.
Can you describe like how the downstream processing after the scale up in the reactor looks like for the caviar cells or for the caviar product?
We haven't, for full disclosure, we haven't worked out everything. So that's what I want to say. Our plan is to culture the cells and find a way to turn them into our final product using certain IPs and processes that we have. And without going through all the IP and all the science, there are like 1 or 2 steps involved for the cells to pick up the lipids and the taste and of course the size. And this is one of the IP that we are working on right now.
Thanks.
So I want to touch on, you had a statement of profitability is better than price parity or cost parity. So in this case, if that's true, right? One can conclude that your product, will be more expensive than actual caviar, maybe, perhaps, right? So what would be the push for customers to buy it? I see it from I love from the technology point of view, but I'm trying to think how would this fit in the market, especially if you are going to come with a premium.
I work in a seafood factory for 10 years, and truth to be told, we have never reached price parity, but we've been paying dividend for the last 20 years. The guy next door is working at a much cheaper price, but they've been going bankrupt because there's no profitability. My experience or my perspective of selling seafood is to tell a sustainable and attractive story to improve desirability and make it desirable and make it attractive for people. Not all caviar are priced at the same price. So like there's no like one price for caviar. This is perhaps like also very unique in the seafood space. We will try to market at a premium as high as possible. This is natural for all seafood producers in the world. We always try to focus on price instead of focusing on cost, because for starting a price war if the factory next door is normally like it's like loss for both parties. So this is just the traditional economic realities in seafood.
Okay, great.
Does that help?
Okay, then one question from Edward.
Sure. So when can we try it?
We are working on, what we did is that we tested actually on salmon roll formulations or like alternative salmon roll formulation with a friend of mine. And that I don't have it today, but that can be made and can be tried. That the flavor and the texture, if you believe me, I would say is quite neutral. My my gut feeling or my hypothesis is that if we can push the cells the right way, it will have the same or at least a similar flavor and mouthfeel that we're going for. And that is like our hypothesis, and that's what we're working towards. But if you're interested in trying the formulation, then we have worked on those in the past as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Alan. Good luck for Marina's bio. Okay, and then for the next startup, I'd like to welcome Food for You, all the way from Argentina, who are developing ingredients to optimize fermentation in plant-based products. Please welcome co-founder and CEO Antonietta to the stage.
Thank you. Wait. Hello, everyone. My name is Antonietta. I'm from Argentina. I am CEO and co-founder of Foods for You, a biotech platform that unlocks the power of fermentation for the next generation of plant-based products. Did you know that most bacteria won't hurt you? In fact, less than 1% make people sick. Many are helpful. We have our microbiota that produce vitamins. Also, they help to digest food. And even they can be used to produce healthy products, such as yogurt, cheese. The most famous are lactobacteria. They are GRAS and non-GMO. Fermentation using these microorganisms has been used by food industries for decades and has a lot of benefits, such as gut health and better functionality. But plant-based manufacturers haven't fully leveraged the potential of fermentation. Why? Because most of them are using existing commercial culture that were optimized for dairy products. So when you try in plant-based substrate, they obtain poor sensory properties and longer fermentation time. Plant-based manufacturers could develop their own starter culture, but they don't know how to do, and the process takes time and is expensive. Food for You has a solution. We are a lactic acid bacteria platform that is developing new and unique fermentation solution for a plant-based application, unlocked by software. How does our platform work? We sourcing this lactic acid bacteria from a specific plant substrate. We analyze, characterize, and combine them with software. And we get optimized starter culture for a specific plant-based application. We've developed more than 12 mixes of this bacteria, and we obtain clean label products such as yogurt, dips, and cheese that you can taste today. I brought from Argentina and are really good. We can help manufacturers save money. Our process is shorter, so they can improve their production capacity by 100,000 more liters of yogurt per month. In bioreactor, 20,000 liters. Also, they can improve the sensory properties and only using less ingredients and only natural ones. This added value is why our customer could choose us against our competitor that only offer one-size standard solution for all vegetal matrix. Our business model is B2B. As provider of this dry starter culture, but to manufacturer can produce their own yogurt, dips, and cheese. Also, we can work with them in co-develop specific plant substrate and desired properties. For example, compounds such as vitamins and antioxidant peptides. Moving into the market that we want to see is we're looking into the starter culture, also probiotic and postbiotics at first, and in the long term, we want to expand to pet food and also cosmetics using our technology. We already validated our first product with different companies, both plant-based and also traditional companies that want to expand the product portfolio. Up to date, we've been developing our own bacterial library, also different kinds of uses case of food application, and also our software platform. Today, we have our first MVP ready to be tasted for our customers. This is our team, Argentina, very resilient and passionate about fermentation. Francisco, he is a business entrepreneur with experience in sales and marketing role. And Mansei, I biotechnology and also have a PhD in biological science with more than 10 years of experience in plant-based fermentation. Also, we have a fully team of experts with bacteria fermentation, bacteria genomics, fermentation, and food science. Also, we have the support of different investors, such as critics and ProVeg, and the scientific institutions that believe in food for you. In order to keep growing, we will open our seed round next first quarter of next year by 1.5 million in order to validate our product market fit and launch new development. So we are food for you, and we want to transform plant-based world with the power of fermentation. Join us.
Thank you so much, Antonietta. Let's again open it up for questions, and I want to invite Nico from Food.
Thanks for the presentation. You have mentioned that one of the big differentiators to competition is the fact that the others have one-size-fits-all solutions, whereas you customize. Now, looking at this at scale, how do you plan to scale this? Because I guess if you have various of thousands of customers, you won't be able to customize for each one of them individually.
Yeah, great question. Really, we know that we can, for demand of plant-based manufacturers, is lower than dairy manufacturers. So at first, we want to start with first MVP that I showed you before. This MVP could work very good for some plant-based substrate, for example, oat milk, and also rice, and also soybean. And in order that we can produce, first we can produce one line of strain and another, no simultaneous, each separate. So then we can mix the powder, so we can customize the final product for each customer.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. How compared to the standard version you can buy at the moment, how do you compare in pricing, or is pricing super sensitive? Is starter culture something where you see a high price sensitivity in your customers?
Okay. Today we have a lab scale, so our price is obviously no priority with our competitors that are big, really big. But we are planning for next year to start to sell a small amount, mainly for small manufacturers, and the price is more or less $9 to ferment 50 liters of yogurt. That is really small amount. But in order to scaling up, and we have a more optimize our process about our software and scalability, we will think that at least our price, it will be at least twice more than the competition.
Okay,
thank you.
Great. Then next up, Middle.
I had the same questions actually. Maybe one more question would be: you mentioned that it's a very unique fermentation that you provide with your starter cultures. What's so unique about it?
We are isolating, and also we are working with scientific from Argentina that even some big company are looking for the same strain. And this strain is not only because they have the potential to be used as biofactories, it's not only for texture and sensory properties, but also these bacteria can produce, for example, B12 vitamin. So we want to try to combine this starter culture plus this adjuvant culture to produce, for example, B12 vitamins, also antioxidant peptides. So that point of view is very unique. And we want to improve not only sensory, as I mentioned before, but also the nutritional ones.
How defensible is this? I mean, how can, so I don't know this space so well, but if there's another, it's a competitor that's producing standard and starting cultures, right? And they purchase yours, and I mean, they can actually isolate the bacteria, sequence it, and figure out what's in it, right? Can you protect the formulation, or how do you do that?
Yeah, we can protect the combination and the mix of these bacteria for a specific application. For example, if I have a starter cultivar plus, I have to add some strain that is producing B12 vitamin, or maybe for a specific application, we can protect by patent. And also, obviously, we have, I don't know if you know, but Nagoya protocol, we have to ask for permission for commercialize our bacteria for our government. So this is no IP strategy, is IP, but it's a collateral and protection of our own strain. So it will be our strategy about how we can protect our own development.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Antonietta. Great question from the jury. And now it's my great pleasure to invite Sergio from Selva to the stage. You're actually the last pitch of today. So yeah, give Sergio a really big applause.
Thank you. Hi, guys. So I'm Sergio Pinto, the founder and CEO of Selva Ingredients, a Brazilian biotech company that develops fat from porks. Are you tired? No, you don't feel tired. Okay, come on. Look, fat is energy. Fat is taste. Fat is flavor. Fat is actually the maestro in the symphony that we look for of flavor and performance. We all know that fat is actually the hero in any recipe. But fat is also, and I have to say, I have to return, because this image is so beautiful. This is our fat. It was produced in mid-November. And now the applications that are going to see from now on, they are done with our own applications by our own chefs. So we definitely believe that our fat can be a game changer in the industry, because by using a single process, we can have a very versatile application to different categories, to different industries. And this versatility isn't just a feature. We definitely believe this is a competitive advantage compared to others, opening a broader range of industries and clients that we can address. We all know that the fat market is enormous, more than $220 billion. And just to give you guys an idea, if we only consider the Brazilian market for sausages using fats, we can make in a single day more than $1 million in revenues. But our fat can definitely go way beyond the meat market. It can be applied in huge categories like dairy and confectionery goods. So besides giving taste and flavor to sausages, we can also help to enhance the mouthfeel of a milk. We can help to emulsify a caramel. We can even be a butter substitute for brownies. And we know that efficiency is key when it comes for production. And nowadays, to produce animal fats takes almost 2 years with no single novelty to consumers. Those, from their point of view, are fakes and oxymoron. They want, at the very same time, healthy and tasty. And the journalists that try our brownie, they had it for the first time. So our mission in the business-to-business market is, of course, being in flavor and texture, but it's not only about building fats, it's about building better fats. So we're enhancing the nutritional profile of fats using non-GMO ingredients, working with less saturated fats, and also essential amino acids and fat acids that we work for and function. And in terms of performance, all new fats, of course, they're looking for this just about right melting point, but we work hardly in the industry to use existing infrastructure, so our clients won't need to use extra capex. In terms of efficiency, we're able to produce in just 21 days. So we start from our proprietary cell bank, which we keep under trade secret. Then our cells start to multiply and start to adhere to our proprietary and patented microcarriers. After that, we harvest the biomass, and at the end of the process, we have already a fat that will no need further processing and can be applied directly to any food application. This is 90% more efficient than traditional animal fats in a process that is 100% clean. And we are very proud of the evolutions that we have done in the last 2 years. We have proprietary food-grade media. Our microcarriers are patented because they're edible, and they only cost $4 per kilo in a process, again, that is 100% no GMO. And we were able to build that because we built a unique ecosystem that allows us to work with different developers of the food industry and also institutions. And I want to highlight Givaudan and AK that have been supporting us in the food application so far, But right now, we are discussing global commercialization agreements that I hope to bring good news to the table in the beginning of 2024. And we are not in Brazil because we are Brazilians. We are in Brazil because we are a big hub of investment. Brazil is the 5th country in receiving direct investment from foreign investor, 86 billion in figures from 2022. This is more than France and India combined. And why does that? Because we are the biggest food ecosystem. We are the 4th biggest fat producer in the world. If we're looking for renewable energy, we are the main one in town. And 2 in 3 patents that are in deposit in Latin America, they are made by Brazilians. So if we want to switch the food system, Brazil is the best place to be at. In terms of the business model, of course, we're going to commercialize our ingredients through indirect sales of our ingredients using distributors and use trade partners. But we are also considering on-demand formulations for big clients like Givaudan and AEK, because this is huge, this is massive, this is important for us. But we also consider the commercialization and licensing of our IPs. About Chien, we're raising $2 million right now to produce 200 grams. And we are also starting to commercialize our microcarriers in the beginning of 2024. And then we're going to evolve our commercial capabilities, we're going to evolve our facilities to start commercializing our fats by 2027. 1.5 from this round is already secure and led by the main investor in Brazil, and we still have space for investors like you. Of course, we always keep the best for the last, so I'm very great to have a big team working with us with a big blend of biotech, food tech, management, and IPs. I'm a former executive myself from big companies like PepsiCo and BRF. I'm happy to have Bibiane as my CSO, and she was the first woman that started to have a private lab for cell cultivation in Latin America like 5 years ago. So guys, if you want to eat well, invest even better, talk to us.
Thank you so much, Sergio. And I want to welcome Bibiana to the stage. Thanks for bringing the beauty of fat to this evening. And let's see from our jury what questions they have for you guys.
So maybe one technical in the beginning. Alternative protein applications will probably be the most interesting, particularly like alt meat for the beginning. How does your fat combine with traditional like plant meat or cultivated cell lines that are out there? Sometimes what we see in product is that the fat itself is really good, but it just doesn't stick to the protein as like a real animal product.
That's definitely a great question. From the testings that we have performed throughout this year, especially with vegan kind of sausages, the fat did perform very well in the mix and also in high temperature. So we are very happy with the results we achieved so far. And we see that there is a broad range of opportunities here with plant-based products, but also like dairy and confectionery products.
Mirdo, please.
Thanks for the very energetic presentation, first of all. So your beachhead market is plant-based meat. I wonder, why do you choose that? If I were you, I would think that this has a very high entry barrier compared to other applications where you can easily do a low volume, high price kind of a business.
That's a beautiful question. I didn't explain myself pretty well. Actually, we are performing like a specialty ingredient, so we are looking for more high-end applications. This is the reason why that we're looking for more dairy than plant-based meat, because it's the only segment that's really increasing, and we are also receiving this kind, let's say, of challenge from the main partners that we do have, but we are also working into high-end confectionery products, because we definitely believe that then you have a chance to tackle an obstacle in terms of quality of the fats that are actually being given by these providers, and a higher acceptance of the higher price that we are going to face in the beginning of the process.
Okay, great. Nico?
So I would say there's already a good number of startups out there working on fats, and some of them well-funded. So when you're speaking to potential customers of yours, what would you say are the one or two USPs of your solution versus the rest that is out there?
Yeah, we listen to this question a lot. First of all, I think that we are really well backed in the supply chain that we have in Brazil. So just to give you one number, when we start working with micro carriers, they were costing almost $10,000 per kilo, and now it's $4 per kilo. So there is abundance of ingredients that have been using. The second one, we definitely want to accelerate our capacity in this into, let's say, into the development of this commercial acumen. So everything that we have been doing since the beginning, we have been collaborating with huge companies because we want to scale up a process that we have marked by the end of the road. Not something that is just important in terms of technology, but nobody wants to buy that. And the third thing that we definitely believe is that, of course, it will take more time to have like a commercially viable fat. So this is the reason why we're starting with the micro carriers. So we can start bringing money, developing these skills, start to test in different categories while we achieve commercial viability in our fat.
Clear. Thank you. And maybe one more question. I don't know if other people here are familiar with the regulatory situation in Brazil, but I'm not. So what does that look like?
It's a novel food ingredient as much as it is here in Europe. And one of the ideas that we had for joining the ProVeg, besides the great team that we are meeting, was trying to understand if here was easier or worse. And it actually is worse. Yes, sorry, guys. So we are accelerating the process. I am leading the agenda in Brasilia, which is the federal capital of Brazil, myself. I lead the Brazilian Association for Bioinnovation. So this gives us the ability to have conversations, and Brazil actually seeing this as, of course, either an opportunity or a challenge for the production system that we have in place. But again, the micro carriers, they are already regulated, so we can start selling them tomorrow. And we are going to deposit our dossier, which was like finished like last week. And we hope to have like news, not in 2024, but in 2025.
Right, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, great. Thank you both. You can take it.
I can take it.
Yes, so thank you all so much. This was the last pitch. I want to thank you all for your attention and the great presentations from our 8 startups today. We're going to have a very short break of 3 minutes where the jury will reconvene and finalize the scoring, because if you are not dialing in for the first time, there's a little tradition. We're going to crown 2 awards, one favorite pitch from the audience and one from the jury. So please see for the QR code where you can vote for your favorite pitch to the audience here and online, and then we'll meet back in 3 minutes. Thank you.
Answer the question.
So, back after a very short break.
Are we ready?
The tension is rising. We're back after a very short break with the award ceremony. And first, I have the pleasure to find out who was the audience best pitch of the evening. So let's see on our scoring what the results will be. Okay, so maybe like a little tush sound from the team, from the tech team, if that's possible, or, or very low tech. And let's see, who was voted for the favorite pitch from the audience?
And drama.
Selva.
Oh, Selva.
Congrats, guys. Sergio, Viviana, please come to the stage. Please come to the stage. Nice. So we have a beautiful little medal to commemorate this achievement, and I want to congratulate you a lot. And yeah, you can say a few last words if you want.
I think Viviana.
Yeah, maybe Viviana.
It was definitely Sergio's energy and, of course, our fats that can bring more and more good food for everyone. And thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, officially to you, see you at the New Food Conference.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
All right. And then we also have the jury calculations and all of their scores ready. And also, one more time, if we can do like a low-tech drum roll. Please give it up for Allium Bio, which won the jury award.
Congrats!
So here you go, both of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you want to say something, are you good? All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, the live audience, and also everyone for making it out here today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a long evening, lots of input. Now we have food and drinks, so thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
And bye to the Onion audience.
Bye. All right. Thanks, everyone.